Hello everybody, my name is Tiny Tommy. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be going over the most useful tips and tricks in Roblox My Prison, right? Roblox My Prison hasn't been out for a while, okay? So it's a fairly new game and a lot of people don't know some tips or tricks, some good tips or tricks, or just general information about the game, right? So I'm here to just give you guys some of that information. Thank you so much for watching. If you wouldn't mind liking and subscribing, that helps me know that the content I'm making is useful and helpful to you guys, and I will keep making more, right? Thank you so much. And let's get into it, okay? So, first things first, let's go over some codes, right? The game hasn't been out for too long. A lot of people do know the codes, but in case you haven't, just go one to the right of the build mode, right? This is build mode. If you go over here and you click on this one right here, you can go over here. It'll bring up this screen. You click promo codes, and you can type in the codes. The first code is finally with a capital F, just like that, right? It says already redeemed. That means you know I'm not lying. And then tweet. These two codes both already redeemed. For example, if I type something 4, it says invalid code. That proves that these are obviously real codes. And yeah, they work. So as of this video being released, they work. They could get taken down, and I'm going to release new videos updating this and giving you more codes when more codes are released, right? So that's all the codes. Pretty simple, pretty useful. And without further ado, let's actually get into the tips and tricks of the videos. Alrighty, guys. Okay, so first of all, we're just going to be going over general prisoners, the prisoners as a person in the game, and what they need to, well, be functioning prisoners and not want to escape, right? So first thing we have over here is the soda machine and trash cans. The trash cans are not useful, however, without trash cans, the prisoners will litter, and if you don't have a janitor, especially earlier on, that trash will build up. One, it looks absolutely disgusting, and two, the prisoners will eventually escape if the prison becomes too dirty, right? The second thing is a soda machine. Although the soda machine creates a little mess because the prisoners will take a soda, walk away and drop it on the ground or spill it, it is required in order for the prisoners to stay inside the thing. Same with the phone over here. The phone, although you don't need a 1-to-1 ratio for the phone or soda machine, they are required for the prisoners to not want to escape, right? And one way to tell how many phones or how many soda cans you need is keep putting, when you bring your prisoners into your prison initially, bring them in one at a time and look at the comments of prisoners. If comments start showing up like, oh, I need a soda or I want to call home, then you know you need to add more sodas and phones fast or else prisoners will start to escape, right? So just when you're putting in prisoners, put in one at a time. That's another useful tip. We'll go over that later. The third thing we need, or actually fourth, including the trash can, is weight machine. Not only the weight machine, but also the treadmill. Every single inmate during sports will need to use this weight machine or the treadmill or sit down. You don't need to have the bleachers, so just include these two right here, the weight machine and treadmill. Here, I'll actually get out the treadmill so you guys can see over here. For the treadmill over here, right, if I put that down, both of these, you only need one per prisoner because only one prisoner will use it at a time. However, if a prisoner wants to use a treadmill and all the treadmills are used up, he will get mad and try to escape, right? So it is good to have a few extra. However, if you have a 1-to-1 ratio of just even amounts of, so if I have 10 prisoners, I have 5 benches and 5 treadmills, you should be good. So yeah, just keep it like that. Although I would recommend having like 6 benches and 6 treadmills if you have 10 prisoners, right? Moving on, we have the double bunk bed. Now, you could do single bunks. However, even from the second you start the game, I recommend replacing your normal bunks with these, okay? You literally get double the prisoners for the same amount of space, and it isn't that hard to accommodate. And honestly, it's just the best thing ever. If you don't like the design, there are better designs. However, this is the cheapest bunk bed, just the wooden one, right? Very simple. I recommend just upgrading, always getting the double bunk beds whenever you can, because it's a lot easier to accommodate for 2 people like this than it is to have double the space for beds and then have to accommodate for that, right? The next thing we have is a toilet. A toilet is obviously required. However, you don't need a 1-to-1 ratio for prisoners. I would say a really good ratio is just 1 to 2. So for every single cell you have a bunk bed, have one single toilet in there, right? Now you're probably wondering what the sink is. For this game, as of right now, the sink actually doesn't have a purpose. The devs of the game are actually planning on making a purpose for this game. However, you don't need a purpose as of right now, so you don't need to put a sink in, especially when you're starting off. Adding sinks can be a lot of money, right? The next thing you need is a shower. A shower, similar to the weight machines, is a 1-to-1 ratio. For every single prisoner in your prison, you need one single shower. Very simple. Lunch tables are the exact same way. However, one lunch table has 1, 2, 3, and 4 spots, right? So for every single prisoner, there needs to be one spot on the table. So for every 4 prisoners, you need to have one lunch table, right? That's all for the general prisoners and what they need to survive, other than food. And yeah, we're going to go over that in a second. Alrighty, now we're at the chef section, or the food section, right? And the food section is pretty straightforward. However, I'm just going to explain some ratios. One chef can accommodate 15 prisoners around that amount, right? It's not always perfect, and sometimes based on where your meals, where your buffets are placed, the chefs might not be able to reach it. However, generally, one chef can accommodate 15 prisoners, right? That's just some good information there to know. Then over here we have the buffet, right? The buffet is pretty straightforward. Honestly, all of these are pretty straightforward. The chefs come out, they put meals. One buffet table can usually accommodate around 5 to 7 prisoners, right? It's very iffy and it's very icky. My prison, one prison I made had like I had to have a ridiculous amount, and another prison I had to have barely any, right? It's just so on and off. Whenever they ask for buffets or tables, put down tables, see if that fixes it. If not, then you need to put down buffets. That's a good way to tell. Then we move on to the fridge, sink, and oven. And if any of you have played the game before, you're probably wondering where the counter is. Well, as of right now, the chefs don't need a counter to function, right? The counter is useless and they never use it, right? The only thing they need is the fridge to grab the meals, the oven to cook it, and the sink to wash their dishes, right? So that you don't need the counter. It can save you 2 blocks of space and also a bit of money, right? Another good tip. Now, for the refrigerator, sink, and oven, these are a 1 to 3 ratio for chefs. So for every chef, I need 1, 2, 3. So I need all 3 of these for one singular chef. You can get away with like a 3 chefs or 4 chefs for 3 of these kind of ratio, but my advice is just to have a 1 chef for every single fridge, every single sink, and every single oven, right? So all 3 of these for 1 chef. Okay, that's all for food. Food's pretty simple. Yeah, I will see you guys with the guards. Okay guys, so now we're actually with the guards, and the guard section is the simplest of all. It's very easy, and honestly, it's more about experimenting what works for your prison with guards. However, I'm just going to go over quickly the desks, right? Every single guard needs 1 desk, right? Whether it's this desk, or this desk, right? As of right now, this is the best desk, right? It is the cheapest, and yeah, it's just the cheapest, right? They're all the same size. However, both of these do have intended uses coming to the game in the future. So if you have the money, I recommend putting the best one down. If you don't have the money, this one will work, and you can always change it out later. Now for guard ratios, right? Guard ratios is fairly simple, fairly easy to understand. It's usually around 1 to 5, and you can have unlimited guards, so it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal if you need to put more guards in. It's not like there's a cap. However, it's usually 1 to 5. However, depending on the layout of your prison, I do find sometimes it can be a 1 to 4 or even 1 to 6, right? If your prison's very open, the guards can see a lot more, or at least that's how the game's coding seems to work or something. So it'll usually be a more 1 to 6 ratio, right? However, if you have a bunch of tight corners in your prison or a bunch of tiny like little places where prisoners can go, it'll probably be a 1 to 4 ratio. That's just some understanding of how the guard ratio works. It's very simple, and you can have unlimited guards, unlike chefs, where they actually cap you off in the game right now at 5 chefs, okay? So 5 chefs is your limit, and just be aware of that. If you are approaching that limit, you can only have 5 chefs, right? Next, we're going to go over to game passes, just some tips if you're buying game passes. If you don't, you can skip to the end of the video or past this part. However, I'll see you guys there. Okay, so now we're going over game passes, right? But before we start game passes, I just want to talk about these two, right? So we have the VIP limo and the military truck, right? The VIP limo can hold 8 people, and the military truck can hold 12, right? Now, obviously the military truck's better. However, if you plan on buying VIP, I do suggest not buying the military truck because it is truly not worth it. You get an extra 4 people, which isn't really that much when you can already carry 8, and it's literally double the Robux, right? However, if you do want to buy one of them, I do suggest buying the military truck. If you've already bought VIP, don't bother buying the monster truck, but if you do want to buy one, I suggest military truck, because as of right now, VIP is worth very little. It is worth 8. The VIP limo can carry 8 people, and the VIP chat message thing isn't very good, right? I type hey, I just have a little VIP logo. It's not that big of a deal. So just a quick disclaimer about that. I do think this is better. However, if you already have the VIP, don't go for this because it costs like 50 more Robux, right? If we look here, it costs $259 for VIP, whereas the military truck costs $299. So if you can afford the military truck, go for that. However, don't buy both, okay? It is not worth it, and until they update VIP, you're really not getting any value out of VIP that you wouldn't get for the military truck. Alrighty, so now we're going to go over the money fountain. The money fountain is 190 Robux, and honestly, in my opinion, my honest straight to the point opinion is it's not worth it. You only get $10 per collection without the earnings boost, and unless you're able to get it the first thing you do when you load in the game, you really aren't going to make value from it. I have to put it in a very common space, and honestly, it is cool, it's very pretty, but I can't really find a nice spot to put it in my prison, right? So I rarely ever go to it. I rarely ever run past it and collect the money. And even though it stacks up a tiny bit, I rarely actually go and make profit from it, right? Especially 190 Robux. Personally, the money fountain needs to be lowered, and it shouldn't really be more than 80 Robux because of just how little you use it. And yeah, it's just, unless you're buying it early game, like $15 when you have 280,000 isn't that much, right? Especially when you can have a prison full of 80 prisoners, right? So the money fountain, I personally wouldn't buy. However, if you do buy it early on, it definitely can have its benefits, right? Next, we're going to look at the earnings boost, okay? The earnings boost, in my opinion, for 75 Robux is the best in the game, right? It's the best Robux or buyable pass in the game, right? 75 Robux, and essentially what it does is instead of getting $10 from the fountain, I get 15. Instead of getting $10 per prisoner per hour, I get 15, sorry, right? So it just increases everything that you make money by 1.5. For 75 Robux, you can't really miss out, and honestly, it's an amazing boost, and like, if you did the math, I would probably only be at around 200,000 right? It's such a good pass, and it's so worth it, and it is probably the only pass I would recommend getting early on because you don't need the military truck, and the money fountain is kind of a waste of Robux, right? Next, we're going to go to the quieter prisoners and more lands. The quieter prisoners is $500, and as you can see, I don't actually have it. That's just because I can't justify spending $500 for quieter prisoners when you can already make a perfectly quiet prison anyway, right? You can already make a prison where the prisoners don't complain. I have never used it. I've never seen it in action, so it could be really good, but personally, I can't justify $500. The more land, I 100% recommend if you need more land. Obviously, if you want to make a bigger prison, you're going to need more land, and I mean, it's just generally worth it if you have a big prison. But until you get to that point, I recommend you just leave it be and don't buy it. As you can see, I still don't have these outside bought. I still don't have the game pass, and I don't plan on buying it for a while just because it's a little Robux that I don't want to spend, and I don't really need that big of a prison, right? I can already put the max amount of prisoners. So until they increase the cap, I don't see why you would need it. However, if you are building a very nice, big designed prison, you could run out of space, and you may need that extra space. So I recommend getting it if you need it for that, but otherwise, no. That's all the game passes. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe before you go. It lets me know my hard work is paying off and that you guys are enjoying this video. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.